Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this not so pretty day outside, but we'll go ahead with our special meeting. Notice is hereby given of a special board meeting of the Board of Education of the Town of Westfield in the County of Union, New Jersey. Sorry, it sounded wrong for me. At 8 a.m. on the Monday of Tuesday, June 25th, 2019, in the boardroom of the Administration Building, 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey. The purpose of the meeting is to transact the regular business of the board and to transact any other business to come properly before the board. This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, entitled the Open Public Meetings Act, the Westfield School Board on Thursday, June 20th, 2019, caused to be posted at the office of the Board of Education, located at 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, and delivered to the Westfield Leader, the Star Ledger, the Westfield Library, Town Clerk of Westfield, Tap into Westfield, and Patch.com, a meeting notice setting forth the time, date, and location of the meeting. Dana, can we have a roll call?
Michael Beelan.
Here.
Kent Diamond.
Here.
Brendan Galligan.
Here.
Robert Garrison. Brian Marcy.
Here.
Gretchen Oleg. Tara Porto.
Here.
Peggy Astor.
Here.
Amy Ruth.
Here.
Kid, can you lead us in a pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I think I have the only announcement today, and that is to inform the public that the next Board of Education meeting will be held on August 27th at 302 Elm Street, and we hope you have a great summer, and we look forward to seeing you then. At this time, I'd like to recognize the public for any agenda items only. Seeing nobody come forth to the podium, I'd like the board to approve the minutes of the board meeting held on June 11th, 2019, June 18th, 2019, and the private minutes of June 11th and June 18th of 2019.
Second.
Brendan, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Personnel, Amy.
Yes, I would like the board to consider items 1 through 24.
Second.
Thank you, Kent. Dr. Dillon, do you have one you'd like to call out?
There is one I'd like to call out, yes. I'm pleased to recommend Mary Espendis for the position of Westfield High School Principal, effective August 1st, 2019. And I thought I'd share the search committee and myself did interview a number of people, reviewed many resumes, but I'd like to explain a little bit why we chose Mary to be the principal. Certainly a decision we take very seriously, and I take very seriously. So most people know, many people know in the district that Mrs. Espendis has a broad and deep educational background with 15 years of administrative experience. Her experience includes 5 years first as a middle school Spanish teacher in Edison Intermediate School, right here in the district, and 8 years as a district-level K-12 world language supervisor in Vernets Township. She returned to Westfield in 2012, spent almost 4 years as the assistant principal at Westfield High School, before becoming assistant principal at Edison Intermediate School, and 2 years ago she assumed a greater leadership role by becoming the principal of Roosevelt Intermediate School. So certainly with that background, that successful background, she understands the aspects and needs of a high school student and the scope that student requires, the scope of education that student requires. Without exception, Mary has the personal attributes, outlook, and experience to serve as principal of our high school. She brings knowledge of the district and community, specific experience at the high school, building leadership, instructional expertise, excitement, and passion. I am certain she will be a dedicated leader with vision and commitment to the more than 1,800 students and staff at Westfield High School.
Mrs. Sacco, please.
Michael Beelan.
Yes.
Kent Diamond.
Yes.
Brendan Galligan.
Yes.
Brian Marcy.
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg.
Yes.
Tara Porto.
Yes.
Peggy Astor.
Yes.
Amy Ruth.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Mary, would you like to say a few words?
So I'm trying this on tech. This is new for me, trying this on technology, such paper, so we'll see how it goes. Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Dolan and the Board of Education, for your support. It is truly an honor to be accepting the position of principal of Westfield High School. As I reflected on what to share today, I thought about the many opportunities and new beginnings I have had with the Westfield Public Schools. Many years ago, I won't say how many, I entered the halls of Edison Intermediate School as a middle school Spanish teacher. I could tell Westfield was a special place. I felt welcomed, I felt valued, I felt proud. It wasn't my first teaching position, so I knew there was something different about Westfield, and it was a place where I could grow as an educator. In my formative years of teaching, Westfield Public Schools cemented my philosophy of education, showed me the value of school and community, and pushed me to be the best professional I could be. Fast forward 20 years later, and I'm so proud to represent this district, which has given me so much. It is exciting to be standing here again, ready to return to Westfield High School. I recall 7 years ago as I stood in Cafeteria A with Maggie McFadden, accepting that high school assistant principal position. At that time, I did not know what truly makes Westfield High School a phenomenal high school. I would learn that Westfield High School is a place that offers tremendous opportunities. Whether students are athletes, musicians, activists, different kinds of learners, Westfield has programs and activities for each type of student. It is a place where differences are recognized and cherished. I would get to know the amazing teachers and staff. Their passion and professionalism is shown each day in their classes and in the hallways. They truly care about students and their learning. I would also find the support of parents in the community. Education here is valued, and we all work together for the success of our students. As I prepare to be the next principal of Westfield High School, I'm excited for the challenges and opportunities. I look forward to continuing the district's goal of social and emotional learning, helping students develop the skills they will need to be successful long after they leave the halls of the high school. I look forward to supporting and developing programs so that students are prepared with 21st century skills they will need in this rapidly changing world. But most importantly, I am so excited to continue with our middle school students to see how they turn out at the end of senior year. I can't wait. While I am so grateful for this opportunity and the promise it brings, it comes at the end of a very difficult year for our community. We lost a friend, colleague, and leader. I was fortunate to have worked alongside Derek and have been his friend as we both started our principal journey together. While we will always remember Derek, I am grateful for the honor and the privilege of helping Westfield High School move forward. As I look around the room today, I know that the support of my family, friends, and colleagues is what allows me to stand here before you and accept this position. I am thankful for my administrative colleagues, past and present. Thank you for being here to support me in this new role. I'm extremely thankful for the opportunity of being the principal of Roseville Intermediate School. It was my first principal job, and it was easy. It's a wonderful community, wonderful students, wonderful assistant principal who we work together to make Roosevelt a great place. And I'm also thankful to my 3 children over there. While I'm very proud today of accepting this position, you guys are what make me the most proud. And I am thankful for my husband who has supported me in this big step that I am taking. So thank you very much. I am so appreciative of this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. I mean, seeing the number of colleagues and family and friends that have come out to support you shows the respect that you have in our community of administrators. And I think the board is looking forward to your leadership and what you bring to the high school. And even though we've had a hard past year, we are looking into the future and where we can take the high school. And I'm very excited to be here with you and see where you can take it. So thank you. Does anybody else have? Great, we'll move on to policies. Brenda.
I asked the board to, I don't know how to move that one. Because we're not actually approving anything. which revealed.
Right. So I could just do that
Yeah,
first if you want.
yeah, if you'd like to give us a.
Okay. So the confusion is we have a state requirement that just happened, so.
Love that statement.
Exactly. So, and we do have a, there we are. So that is not a misprint. Yes, I am going to be talking about 2017-18. And those of you who pay attention to each and every board meeting would know that in the fall, I had also reviewed this information from 2017-18. But we just heard from the state this week that every district has to review it again. So here we go. But the core of this actually is something very important. Part of the anti-bullying Bill of Rights requires that there's a team in each school that reviews everything having to do with harassment, intimidation, and bullying. And that team then has to rate themselves, do a self-assessment on 8 different aspects, including what programs do we do to help educate students about harassment, intimidation, bullying, and what is not allowed. There also has to be training on the board-approved harassment, intimidation, and bullying policy. There has to be other training for staff. There has to be curriculum that addresses it. The people who are in charge of doing the investigations, are they receiving their own training? And also, when we have reports of bullying, are we following the procedures prescribed by law? And how do we report that out to the public? Okay? So each team in each school has to create a self-assessment based on all those categories, and then they rate themselves. If everyone were perfect, which I would argue is probably rather difficult to do, it would be 78 is the highest score that you can get. But what I'm required to show you now are the scores from the 2017-18 year, and you can see on that all of our schools are doing well. They're not all the same. They won't be the same from year to year because you truly are supposed to be reflective and see what do we need to do just a little bit better next year. And there's, I think, one more slide there. Is that correct? Yes. That just gives you a sense that there are some changes from year to year on these self-assessments. And that really is okay. It just means the following year, that school needs to focus a little bit more on whatever element they didn't do as well as they had previously. So actually over the summer, the teams are going to be creating their self-assessment for 2018-19. So in the fall, you'll hear me talk about the results of that. Then it'll be submitted to the state, and then next June, I'll be talking to you again about this report. Again, the work is important. We really do take this seriously. We really are working with our students to make sure everyone is being treated the way they should be.
Thank you, Dr. Long.
Thank you very much. There's no action to take on item 1. Ask the board to affirm the superintendent's decision on HIV incident 19J02 for the reasons set forth there.
Second.
Mike Phelan,
Yes.
Ken Diamond.
Yes.
Brendan Gallion,
Yes.
Brian Marcy,
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg.
Yes.
Tara Porto.
Yes.
Peggy Astor.
Yes,
Amy Ruth.
Yes.
thank you. Curriculum, Amy.
It's a quick one. I'd like to ask the board to consider item number 1. Thank you, Brendan. It's just approving a voluntary intern candidate for next year. So, there are no questions? Vote please.
Michael Phelan,
Yes.
Ken Diamond,
Yes.
Brendan Gallion,
Yes.
Brian Marcy,
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg.
Yes.
Tara Porto.
Yes.
Peggy Astor.
Yes,
Amy Ruth.
Yes.
thank you. Moving on to finance, I'd like the board to consider items number 1 to 4. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
Can I comment on number 2? I just wanted to follow up to the facilities committee's notes that I circulated yesterday. Looks like a weird echo, right? So I don't know if anybody had an opportunity to review them. Nobody reached out with questions. So this is sort of an outgrowth of a conversation that grew at the facilities committee meeting about where our money is and reserves that we had and the plans going forward, and whether it didn't make sense to have a conversation about whether we should look to reconfigure the entrance to our buildings in light of what happened at Tomatis a couple of weeks ago. So this motion is purely to approve George Duthie and his office to come up with plans to sort of see what the cost of that would be, and then we can have a more fulsome conversation about, do we have money in reserves? Do we have part money in reserves? Do we go out to bond for some of that? So I think that it's a reasonable quote. It certainly sort of goes in line with some of the other work that he's been doing in the district and some of the things that we've taken a look at before, which is why the quote was so low. So I don't know if you all have any questions about that, or if somebody from the facilities committee sort of wants to tag on. Yeah.
So we initially looked at some of this after Newtown in 2013. And the idea was, or George gave us very robust plans at the time. And best practices have sort of filtered that out and redefined what would be best for the district. So all security isn't a new thing, or even reconfiguring the entrances isn't a new thing. We have 5 more years of experience to tell us what would be the absolute best use of our money. And he'll be able to give us a pretty good cost estimate of what things will cost going forward and how to prioritize to get the most bang for our buck.
And part of it made sense too, because if the town approves the referendum in the spring for full-day kindergarten, we're already doing some significant construction work at some of those buildings. Jefferson in particular being one of our schools where the office is pretty far away from the entrance area.
And Washington
It made
Metal.
sense,
Yeah.
right, in Washington, right. It made sense to try and do it all at once if the town approves it. So
Yeah,
that's the point. I think I said, no, number 2.
Yeah, we wouldn't do the work at Jefferson or Washington without reconfiguring those entrances. It wouldn't
Right.
make sense to do that much work and not fix the problem. And then you have to look at parity and making sure that all the schools are covered, which is where George comes in.
That's okay. So there is the reconfiguration based on these 5 years of best practices that have been accumulated during that 5-year period?
So it's George working with our security consultant and what's worked in other districts around the country.
So what's changed is the old way was to have what they used to call a man trap. So you'd come in the first set of doors, and then you would have to, again, speak to somebody through an intercom to get through the second set of doors. What they're doing now is you come through a first set of doors, and then you actually interact with somebody behind, like shatterproof or bulletproof glass. And then if everything is in order, your ID and whatever, then you get in, rather than just having us buzz somebody in. So that's what he'll do.
And a lot of what drives that is the intercom camera systems have become so much better quality that they can identify people, not just shapes, and see how many people are outside, even in 5 years.
This is the first step in what clearly is a very long conversation for us to
Yeah.
have, right? But this is just about George moving forward to sort of give us a sense of what that work would look like and maybe the costs associated, so we can go from there.
It's the first in a long process. Programmatic changes, building structural changes.
Right.
So the plan is he will have something for the board probably at the end of the summer, so that if we are going to go forward with another referendum in March, we would have to approve that formally probably in August or September, the end of August or September.
Makes sense.
Thanks.
Ready for a vote?
Yeah.
Michael Cleveland?
Yeah.
Kent Diamond?
Yes.
Brendan Galligan?
Yes.
Brian Morrissey?
Yes.
Gretchen Olig?
Yes.
Tara Porto?
Yes.
Peggy Oster?
Yes.
Amy Ruth?
Yes.
I'll say now, I appreciate what the facilities committee looked at in light of what happened at Tamako School this 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago, and us continuing to look at our policies for the security and look at our schools and trying to make them the best that they can. So I do appreciate you guys doing that.
And I think it's important, Peggy, to point out that this is not the end, right? This is one piece of a much larger puzzle, and what happened at Tamacos was specific to the after-school conversation that's still ongoing. So I don't want to give the appearance that we think this is the only solution.
No, and I agree, and I mean, it really came about because in looking at the question we had for kindergarten, we really saw that the offices at Jefferson, especially Jefferson, if we could work with that construction to make the office a little bit more visible was really how the conversation came about. And I appreciate that, and then we need to look at all the schools for that reason. So I thank the facilities committee for doing that. I'd like the board to consider the notes for the record. All in favor?
Aye.
And then I'd like to recognize the public for any questions or comments. Seeing nobody come forth to the podium, I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 8:22. It's meeting in my 5-year tenure. So thank you, and, oh, I need a motion. Oh, I was closing it too quickly. Thank you, and I wish.
All in
All in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
It's not written for me.
You ready for a cup of coffee?
I had like a half. So, thank you, I wish you all a wonderful summer, and I think, Mary, you have a lot of work. No summer for you, kids. Mom will be there.
All right.
Thank you.